Welcome, everybody, to one of our last episodes of Horror Corner. Now, I won't say this is completely the last episode. I just say we're going on hiatus for a little while. Um, yeah, long enough for my co-host, hopefully, to finish her book.
No pressure. This
No
is
pressure.
this is we're setting this up for a sequel.
Yes, a sequel, and maybe even some other cool horror movies that will come out in the next year. That
We're on
will
a
later.
roll.
Yeah, we're on
So,
a roll. Yeah, horror is doing really well, and
mhm.
that's one of the reasons I also wanted to start a podcast. Thank you everybody for joining us and listening and watching our videos. Um, I hope you've enjoyed them so far. This will be our 30th, even though technically it should be our 33rd episode.
I can't believe it's been 30. That's
Y-
crazy.
yeah, well, I mean, we've done 33
Well,
33 reviews, but like those other three reviews just were they went bye.
yeah. Well, here's me always trying to, make things feel a little bit more Halloweeny or whatever. But technically, because we're doing a double feature, we have 31. So that's
Oh
always a
yeah,
really good kind of witchy number here. So double feature night tonight.
double feature. We have never done that before, but we picked, some of our favorites in the horror genre, and these are in the top 100, best horror films of all time.
It was
You
hard to pick.
picked, yeah, it's hard to pick. You look at the list, and it's very hard to pick. You picked Psycho, the
Yeah, the
1960
great.
Psycho.
Yes, it was the one and only. I'm sorry, Vince Vaughn. I'm sorry. No. there
I mean,
there is no
there were some interesting parts of that, like Anne Heche is supposed to be the Janet Leigh character, so
no.
no.
No. It's been really funny because we talked about doing this spur of the moment, and I know we've talked about it on one of these recordings in the past, but when that question comes up of what is your favorite horror movie, I've often said that's the hardest question to answer. And when this idea came up, it I responded rather quickly, I feel. I didn't take too long, but man alive, there were 4 others that I really and since then I've actually added probably 2 more. I'm like, there's so many good ones. But if we're gonna talk about the very, very best, if I had to pick, I just feel like even though this would sit side by side on a shelf with a few others, I just feel like this movie did so much for the genre. It had to be the choice. So I'm very excited to talk about it. And you picked
I picked Alien.
Alien, not aliens.
Not
Alien.
Aliens. No, I love Aliens, and I think it in my opinion it elevated the first film.
Mhm.
But as a horror movie, because I think it turned into an action thriller. And then people still put
Mhm.
it in the horror genre. And I say it's more of an action thriller because it had, moments of levity in that film. And
Mhm.
um, you don't really get to know a lot of these people very well. And when they get killed off, you're like, huh, I, I didn't know
Mhm.
who that character was. There's only a
Mhm.
few people that they really, pay attention to. But in Alien, it acts more like a horror film because you don't get to see the creature till the very end. Um,
Yeah.
you see bits and pieces. You see people get drug off, and you know you see remnants of people, and you even get a scene where you get an android attacking somebody, but
Mhm.
you don't get to see the creature till the very end, and that is almost the epitome of horror. And like early on too, because this was what, 1979, I think it was.
79.
Yeah,
That's
79.
the year.
So
That's the year.
that's it was early on, and before that, aliens weren't really looked upon as, like there were alien movies, there were War of the Worlds, big giant
Right.
robots coming from
Mhm.
space, but
Little
nothing
hokey.
like this. Nothing like this. Like
No.
this is an alien
Not
that doesn't have prejudice. That's not. It's just not. It's just a creature trying to survive. And the way it
Right.
survives is it kills whatever, is in its way, and for food as well. So we haven't really seen anything like that. We had like what the most the body snatchers and everything and other things,
Mhm.
like that, but nothing like this. Not a creature in the shadows that we don't get to see until the very end. And some awesome like practical effects in that movie too. You get, you know, H.R. Geiger type of like
That's it.
the leather and kind of like
Mhm.
leathery skin, very shiny, kind of very S&M like body and
Right.
everything.
Mhm. Yeah, I feel like this is a really great juxtaposition of films, unintentional, but you're exactly right. That is the premise of um the monster in your film that you chose is it has zero prejudice. It doesn't kill with emotion. It is purely trying to survive. Where the monster in my film is something that is so wildly mental and almost confused, or actually very confused, but something that's primal versus something that's fully emotional on a very strange and mentally disturbed level. So I kind of polar opposites, it- something that is based on some unfortunate history in our country that occurred versus something that is futuristic and um, a bit of fantasy, maybe not. Do you believe in aliens?
I believe that you know there are other creatures. I mean, if there weren't, it's a complete waste of space. I mean,
Yeah, a waste of space.
whether you believe in God or you believe in
Mhm.
evolution, um, the percentage of us just being the only like beings to quote unquote evolve on a planet is like that would be like impossible in my opinion. Like
I
there's
agree.
got to be there's more than out there, and they're probably way more advanced than we are. Um, or even if they aren't as advanced they are, there's still life, even if it's
Yeah.
like a protozoa amoeba level.
Yeah, I always thought it was a little self-absorbed to think that we are the, center of and the only thing intelligent in the universe. But I am going to, take that and put it on a t-shirt. That's the best answer I've ever heard. That would be a total waste of space. That's my favorite. That's going down in the records. All right.
Actually, that's
Well,
actually not my statement either. It's actually from it's sort of a statement taken from a movie called Contact.
oh,
Um,
Contact, Jodie Foster,
yes,
right?
Jodie Foster. Um, yeah, it was so the statement is an awful waste of space because there's
Awful waste of
asking
space.
because like it has to do with like Jodie Foster's character, Matthew McConaughey's character was one believes in God and the one believes in science, and
Mhm.
um, Jodie Foster's dad would always say, there'd be an awful waste of space to think that we were all alone here in in the universe, and it's a really good film. And, between like science fiction and belief and faith on something when everybody else not doesn't believe her. She's been fighting this whole thing about faith, and then in the end, she needs faith for everybody to believe in her of what she experienced and what she saw. So good. I thought that was a really good
Hum Humble until the very end. I was totally gonna credit that to you, but
film. No,
if
I'm not.
he's honest, if he's nothing, ladies and gentlemen.
I'm not going to steal anything because I know in the comments people will be like, "Wait a minute, that sounds
Mhm.
like from Contact." Like, yes, exactly, that is from Contact.
Waste of
Uh,
space, quote, JPOOL slash Jodie Foster.
yes. So tonight, like I said earlier, we are doing a double feature, and we're going to start off with the earliest film. So, based on a 1959 novel by Robert Bloch, or Bloch. I don't know. It's Bloch or
based
Bloch.
on based on
Yes.
based on the true story
Of.
of one Ed Gein,
Yes.
which is yeah, I mean, and it's funny too. I feel like good old Ed Gein got a lot of recent notoriety with the latest installment featuring Charlie Hunnam of Monster. And with everybody running around, I'll try real quick. Let's not have this wind up being the dub, but mother. Not as good as Norman Bates, not as good as my man Anthony Perkins. Oh God, mother. Um, but Ed Gein was a real human who I've talked to a lot of people that they love to talk about all these crazy serial killers and what always comes up first and foremost about Ed Gein is how monstrous he was and how many characters were kind of created out of the thought of Ed Gein, this person who was, taxidermying humans that he was, digging up from the graveyard and making weird clothing and skin suits. We've got Silence of the Lambs, we've got our friend Leatherface, Texas Chainsaw Massacre. But to me, this movie is so fantastic because it's the closest actual truth to what happened. It may not be on some weird ranch in the middle of rural America, although there is the notion that it's, a place that time forgot because of the changes of, our geography and roads being added and towns being bypassed. Um, it may not be the taxidermy, if you want to call it, that super gory stuff that you see in other movies. But this film really focuses in on the mental illness, as did the book.
Oh yeah.
Which this was fun. Man, I've seen this movie so many times, and it was fun to rewatch it because I sat with it in such a different way after watching Monster last year, whenever it came out, and really taking a time to appreciate this movie a little bit more for what the story it was trying to tell. Fun fact: Alfred Hitchcock tried to buy up all the copies of that book when the movie was released so that people couldn't actually hear the story ahead of time or learn the ending. That that is only in a world without Audible.
Oh yeah.
That is a
Well,
1960s.
well, I mean, there was no digital like copies that could get online because there's no such thing as online or social media.
Right. Right. In a time, in a place and time when you could, right? And that's why I picked this movie actually, is because, it that's kind of a, fun little anomaly, but this movie really, I feel like, gave horror respect for the first time. And I think it was our first and lost episode where we were talking about our favorite genres with our lost co-host. Um, and I was dubbed the highbrow horror person, but it's I just love it when it's good enough to get recognized. And before you hit record tonight, once again, we went into the obsession over obsession pit and talked
Yes.
about this amazing film, how captivating it is, how successful it is. Every single time I go out and hang out with friends, I am talking about that movie. Um, we are hoping that movie gets recognized in the way it should, but before Psycho, it was all giant ants and those weird boxy robots you mentioned that were
Oh
not
yeah.
great before Alien. This movie really, a super strong, very well recognized director, um, and a absolute box office smash. And it didn't win an Oscar, spoiler, but it did get highly recognized. I think it was Hitchcock's final career nomination. So, shall we begin?
Oh yeah, definitely. Let's begin, and apparently it begins in our city, Phoenix, Arizona.
That's another one of my favorite things. I recently went down to Phoenix. I was going to see Devo play at whatever they call Comerica, and before I ducked into the restaurant I was meeting my friend at, I went and just shot some of the buildings and everything and did a post on it. Opening up in Phoenix, a lot of those buildings are still there. I know because of your Gennard Corner following, we've got a decent amount of people that are from the area. So go check it out. Go walk in the steps. San Carlos Hotel is prominent. Westward Ho Tower, you can see. And in fact, the building that it opens up to, because we go into the room, the cheap hotel room of a couple of lovers having a nooner. We've got Marion Crane, who is played by the absolutely impeccable Janet Leigh, mother of one of my favorite scream queens. And fun fact, she also was a former patron, along with Tony Curtis, her husband, at Hotel Valley Ho in Scottsdale, Arizona. If you ever want to check it out, there's a great black and white photo of her on the second floor of that hotel. Um, but we go into this hotel room and we see these lovers, and they are getting ready to return back to work. And there's a lot of conversation around their relationship. She obviously wants more. He's saddled with some alimony payments and not as successful as he wants. It doesn't think it's really going to work out. He's kind of complaining about having to go back to his job and a life she would never want to be a part of, but she does. Anyways, it's back to work for Marion Crane. And when she enters her building, you get a really fantastic cameo right out the front window. If you pay close attention, one Alfred Hitchcock is just standing there outside the window with his hat on. And she, immediately starts talking to the boss's secretary there, who is played by Alfred Hitchcock's daughter, Pat Hitchcock. So just some kind of fun facts. But basically what's going on is they work at a real estate office, and there's a high roller in town from Texas, and he's got the big hat, he's got the drawl, he's got the attitude. He even takes the time to hit on Marion, who brushes him off. But what he's got more than anything is fat stacks of cash, $40,000, which is still a lot of money, but definitely a lot of money in 1960. I don't know what the calculation is, but um, he is putting a down payment on a birthday present for his daughter, and the owner of this office doesn't feel comfortable about leaving that money at the office over the weekend. So he tells Marion, "Why don't you go ahead and take that money? Go ahead and put it in the bank. Let's not just leave it here." And she says she's got a headache. So she'll be going home afterward and she'll see him on Monday. But she doesn't go to the bank. She just goes home. And she, it, Janet Leigh is so spectacularly gorgeous in this movie. And it was pretty risque for 1960s, but we go to Marion Crane's house or apartment. And it's house because she lives with her sister who's away. And she's in her bra and skirt, just stunning, stunning black and white imagery in this movie. The film is shot so beautifully, but she's getting ready, of course, as Alfred Hitchcock loves to do with his blondes, in her bra and skirt walking around, and the cash is sitting on the bed. So we've just got the setup now for what we know is going to happen. She's going to make some decisions, she's going to make some choices in life, and she's going to go out to California to find Sam, her lover, who's, down on his luck. Uh, Such a terrific opening. So, I'm going to keep talking, so feel free to interrupt.
No,
I
no,
just go on and on.
no, keep on going. It's it.
All right.
Yeah, I looked up what was it, $40,000 it was
Oh,
in
what
back
is
in
the
1960.
yeah.
So it would be about a little over $452,000 today, almost 453
Yeah.
thousand. So That's a lot of money.
That's that's a lot of money
Yeah.
in cash for a birthday present for your daughter, mind you. But yeah, that's a start over amount of money, and by at least my living standards, that's a buy a new house and move wherever you want, and yeah. So she seems like a relatively level-headed person, but she's gonna make some decisions, poor or otherwise, and she jumps in her car and heads to California. She does pass by her boss, which is kind of an interesting scene, as she is waiting at a stoplight in Phoenix, which again, it's shot in Phoenix. So, yeah, those of you locals that listen to the pod, you can go and kind of scope out these different scenes. But she sees her boss walking with the client across the street, and he looks at her for a second and then he looks back, does the double take. What an uncomfortable moment. She said she had a headache and she was going home. She's now at a crosswalk driving out of town. But she hits the road, and this is a really great scene. There's a couple of breaks, a couple of different transitions, but these driving scenes as she goes to California, you get fantastic orchestra throughout this film, which we'll talk about more when we get to kind of the most epic part of the movie that everybody knows. But um, just this sort of winding, lots of strings, um, while she's sitting with her thoughts. And we've all made interesting decisions in our life, for better or for worse at times, that have caused us to really contemplate. We've all also spent that long drive by ourselves where sometimes we forget the entirety of the drive because we're so lost in our own thoughts. But they allow during this drive for a lot of those thoughts to be almost vocalized. You can hear different people. You can hear her boss talking about what she thinks he would be talking about. Well, yeah, it's a lot of money, just these different, and her sister, she can hear, and just different people talking as she contemplates what she's done, because you can tell she's really she's already having some second thoughts. But she has started this journey, and she carries on. Um Tense moments. She is pursued for a while by a cop, who she's sure is on to him. So she trades in her car for a different model, and he kind of appears again. Eventually, though, all of these thoughts and emotions rattling around in her head, combined with a pretty serious storm, it's too much for her to drive, and so she pulls over off the freeway onto, smaller street, and there in the distance is the infamous Bates Motel, with the beautiful, may I say, beautiful Victorian house in the background, that when any of us see now the silhouette of it, we're like, ah, because we all know this movie. We all know what that house stands for. But it's actually a really beautiful home. Many of us have been to the set in California at Universal Studios and been able to see that motel right there where it was shot, in the house up on the hill. That house was a specific request for the film. It is very closely resembling a painting that was done. I wrote down the name of it. If I can find it. It's a painting called House by the Railroad, I believe. And the inspiration for that painting was, as the freeways and highways were built across America, these little areas, these little places were forgotten by the mainstream, by time. It's Edward Hopper's House by the Railroad, if you want to look it up. Um, so it has this feel to it, this kind of forgotten, almost a darkness that carries over it, which is doubled down by the fact that this film's, obviously black and white. Um, she goes to the office, no one's in. She's in the rain. She looks up at the house. She sees what looks like the silhouette of an older lady walk across, and She goes and hits that horn, and we get Anthony Perkins for his first major role coming in as Norman Bates. I absolutely love Anthony Perkins acting in this movie. What again, really, I love this podcast because we really sit down and I don't know, I do anyway. I really watch these movies with a totally different eye than how I usually watch them, which is purely for enjoyment. His acting is just he is showing on his face, in his, tone of voice, in twitches, on the side of his mouth, every single thing that's going through this character's mind, and I think it's just done so brilliantly, but when we first meet him, he is kind of adorable. He's very much, boy next door. He's kind of bumbling a little bit. You can tell that, he's a little, taken aback by Marion's beauty and he's excitable. He just seems like a really nice guy. He seems like someone you would 100% trust. And she does. Um, enough to accept his invitation to have dinner with him, even though she hears a little fight between what she assumes is him and possibly his mother up at the house about inviting a strange woman to in her house, not in my house. She's quite vile. No strange women up here. Um, so they wind up just kind of having sandwiches in the office, and she talks to him a little bit about his interests, which he remarks taxidermy as being one, and they talk a little bit about why where she's going, what she's doing, and she says, which I love this moment, she says, I've got to wake up early and drive back to Phoenix. So you can see she's starting to really, realize what she's done is that she's made the wrong decision. She's going to do the right thing, which makes it so much worse what
Yep.
happens next.
That's a long
I
drive
mean,
too. Like where she stops and then has to drive all the way back to Phoenix. Because anybody's that take gone, that path down at least I-10, all the way to California. They know that the distance, and especially cars at that time
that's what
weren't
I
as
was gonna say.
yeah weren't that as fast as cars today. So you're gonna take some time on the road, a lot of lonely time. And
Not
back
as
then,
fast, not as comfortable.
yes,
That's a
not
long drive in 1960. It's a long drive now. No podcasts to listen to. No,
nope.
radio was probably very interesting at that time. Maybe you get a station, maybe you don't. Um,
Roads weren't well
yeah.
paved back then. It was not like the roads probably snaked more back in the day,
Mhm.
before
Yeah.
they were straightened out, especially all the way to LA. That's it.
Yeah. They're not moving all that dirt the way that they do today. It's like, "Oh, go around the hill, go around the tree."
Yeah.
And also too, I mean, as evidenced, on her drive to the hotel, the wiper situation back in the day was not great. I used to have a 1967 Volkswagen Bug. I miss that car so much, but the wiper situation in that car was not great, and it was better than Marion Crane's wiper
Oof.
situation. And in Seattle, nonetheless, is where I grew up. But it is rough. It's, headlights coming at you. Yeah. So she's gonna head back. She goes to her room. She starts doing the math on some note paper about how much she spent because she did, give $700 when she traded in that car to, be on the lam, and she realizes that's, probably not something she wants to leave lying around. So she tears that up and throws it in the toilet. Fun fact: first flushed toilet in a movie. There you go. Psycho, 1960. In any case, she's in the bathroom. Norman's peeping on her in the office through one of those good old Scooby-Doo-esque moments of a painting that's moved off the wall, and he's creeping on her, and she proceeds into the shower for one of the most epic scenes of cinematic history. Um, we've all know it. We all love it. What's interesting is originally Alfred Hitchcock wanted that entire scene to be silent, and the uh, crew that produced all of the music for the movie went behind his back and actually created the sound for that scene. And when he heard it, he was like, "Oh, absolutely." Which 100%. It's that when you watch that entire shower scene for what it actually is compared to everything that you can do with practical effects today, everything that's been done, it is so tame, but that music and the stark black and white visuals, I think they used, is it syrup or maybe chocolate syrup or something for the blood, fake blood. I remember it wasn't an option for some reason, or it didn't look as good with the black and white filming, so they used like a syrup of some kind.
Yeah, it's
Um,
probably going around
but
in the drain too. It would have really clogged.
yeah, yeah. But I mean, it's such an exceptional use of music and lighting and cuts back and forth. Um, to actually, going down the drain, that I think there's something to that where they actually shot the drain scene in reverse to make the whatever they used for the fake blood work. Um, but yeah, that entire scene is chef's kiss for horror. It from the look on a fear on Janet Leigh's face to the shadowy figure that is in the background that you can't quite make out who it is to um, the blank dead stare as the life drains from her and the way she lands out of the tub and that swirling drain scene, the ripping of the shower curtain, the dead eye on the floor as the scene kind of finally comes to an end. It is spectacular. I could watch it over and over and over again, which probably says a lot about me, and might be why therapy is important.
Yes,
But
yes, very much so. Mother,
it is
mother.
mother, no. Yes. That is one of the best parts following is you get Norman Bates coming into this scene and he sees what his mother has done and he yells out. That was a pretty good impression. It's mother, the blood. I mean, he is distraught. But because, as Norman Bates says, as probably Ed Gein said, a mother is a boy's best friend, he's not going to let his mom go down for this. So, like a dutiful son, he wraps her up in a shower curtain and puts her and all of her possessions in the trunk of her car, including a rolled up newspaper that has a strong amount of money in it, and dumps the entire thing in the swamp.
He has no idea that there's that much money in there.
No, she hid
He
it
just,
good.
yeah, yeah, but like that's like I said, that's a $40,000. It's a lot of money in 1960.
Yeah. Yeah. And that kind of shows the mental illness too that's going on here. There's no claiming of possessions. There's no robbery that, easily could have happened. I mean, this guy, she's the only guest in the entire motel. He, has taken her out. He's got all this time to clean and look through her stuff. He doesn't. He just packs everything away. This was never about robbery,
Nope.
was never even really about, him assaulting her. This is something much more sadly nefarious, than all of that. This is, the height of mental illness. So Where does the movie pick up? Well, Lila Crane, Marion Crane's sister, she had gone to Tucson the weekend of the money theft, and now she's back, and she's trying to figure out what in the world's going on. She's found out that there's money missing, her sister's missing, so she goes to Fairvale, which is this little town in California, to the hardware store that her lover works at, and she's gonna find out what's going on. In the middle of her questions, we get Milton Arbogast, the private investigator who's been hired to track down that money, who is a really great character in this movie, too. He's just like classic film noir detective, um, knows it all, he's got a story for it. But he starts tracing Marion's journey. You know, he retraces the steps, and eventually he winds up at the Bates Motel. And this is another great period of Anthony Perkins acting because he wears his anxiety on his face. That carefree boy that met Marion Crane when she got to the Bates Motel is twitchy, uh, lying, denying, scared,
Stuttery.
stuttering, running his hands through his hair, just anxious, and somebody that would be completely off-putting if you met him. Um, so he denies seeing Marion. Arbogast looks at the logbook and sees that there's been a signature for someone with similar handwriting, a similar name, Marie. Um, so he fully suspects. I mean, this is a very well trained private investigator and a very emotions on sleeve person who's kind of freaking out. Um, so he's not buying it. He goes to a payphone, calls Lila and Sam, and he's like, you know what, something's not right. I'm going back there. I'm going to talk to this guy's mother. So he does. He goes back to the Bates Motel and not seeing Norman around, he goes up to the house and another great moment. If you love, I don't know, do you like Hitchcock movies?
Oh yeah, I love Hitchcock. He's classic.
Camera perspective is everything. I mean, it's the 60s, so films obviously were nowhere near, they didn't have anywhere near the ability of uh, the cameras or the technical production equipment that they have today. But he really does so much with the way that he captures an image. And this is the moment for people that really appreciate this film where you get the detective coming up the stairs and encountering someone, and it's his the person who is attacking him's perspective of his face, and this great kind of vertigo moment where his arms are flailing and it's almost suspended in time as he is being attacked and falling down the stairs. And as we get a little bit different perspective, we see that it's a perpetrator in a house dress, and
Yep.
this perpetrator starts just stabbing him at the bottom of the stairs. Um, so when our friend Arbogast doesn't return, Sam and Lila are, they know something's up. Something's crazy. They call the sheriff in town. And that's when they learn. They're telling the sheriff something's not right. He was going to go back, this private investigator, and talk to Norman's mother. And the sheriff's like, "What are you talking about? Norman's mother has been dead for 10 years."
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden things are interesting. This is the reason why Alfred Hitchcock bought up all those books. This is the reason why Alfred Hitchcock would not let people into the theater late. He was very particular about um, everybody enjoying this movie from start to finish. No spoilers. A man after my own heart. I'm gonna tell you right now, JPOOL, you are
I
frozen with
know.
your
I just
glass.
I just froze. I have no idea why I just froze. Hold on a
You
second.
know,
I might hold on. I might have to just do something. Hold on a second. Let me
you got it.
take my camera off and hopefully come back. Hold on a second.
Fine. Patience for JPOOL
Yeah,
because he's the
patience,
technical
patience.
director
Yeah, yes.
of this entire pod, and all of his
I
stuff is packed up.
yes. I'm working on my laptop, so let's see. Hold on a second. I don't know what just happened. It's
It's
so
the
weird.
gremlins again.
It is the gremlins again. Why in the world did my camera just do that?
It's just me and Norman now.
Mm,
This image for the people that are watching on YouTube of Norman is almost Ted Bundy-esque. That's one of the things that it always kind of struck me about Anthony Perkins, his look. Um, it it's very Ted Bundy, very well put together, clean cut, boy next door kind of look, which is it makes it all the more unsettling.
okay, let's do the laptop camera. Let's see if that will work. Yeah, that was weird. I don't know why it just like changed all of a sudden. All right, let's try that. I'm back.
There you are,
Am I back?
back in full in effect. All
All right,
right,
let's try the laptop camera. My other
it
camera
works.
was like, I don't want to play anymore. I'll just die on you. Yeah.
I mean, it's the issue with covering horror movies is naturally you're going to get haunted from time to time. So if it's not your camera, it's my headsets going out constantly.
Exactly. All right.
All
So
right,
where do we where do we end?
I just kept talking.
Okay.
Are you going to cut it?
No, I think this is basically uncut because I have a lot to do and I don't know if I'll be able to
Uncut
really.
and
Yes,
live.
uncut and live
Give,
because we are also
give the
streaming
people
at the
what
same
they
time.
want.
Yeah, we're also
Give
streaming
the
too.
people what they
So,
want. Well,
uh,
fantastic. Yeah. So we left off, now Sam and Lila, they know. They know Norman's mom's been dead. They're like, what in the world is happening? So they asked the sheriff, they're like, hey, we need help. He's sure. I'll figure it out. But he doesn't do anything. So Lila and Sam, they take it on themselves they're going to figure out what's going on because this is wild. They know something's wrong. They go to the motel, they act like a couple. They get a cabin down the row. And the plan is Lila's going to go snooping around while Sam distracts Norman. So the plan's in motion. She's snooping. She makes it into cabin 1. Um, and eventually she goes up to the house. So Sam's chatting Norman. It's very I don't know, it's argumentative. Sam obviously doesn't like this guy because he fully suspects Norman's, involved in the disappearance of his girlfriend. And Lila goes up to the house and she's looking around and things are weird, right? She's a little boy's room that obviously is still lived in. Beds unmade, there's toys everywhere. Creepier toys because it's the 60s, let's face it. Not creepy for the time, but creepy for me. She definitely sees the room of an old woman. There's clothes still in the closet. So if this woman's been dead for 10 years, why is all this stuff up here? There's an imprint on the bed. Obviously, Norman's mother is alive and well. So she's snooping around, and Norman and Sam, they get into a struggle. Like it just gets more and more confrontational. And Norman figures out something's not right. So he runs up to the house, and as he's coming, she goes and starts to hide down by the basement. Um she starts investigating down there because of course, if you're in the basement, why not look around? And she sees in the corner a little silhouette of a little old lady. And it's like, oh my gosh, there's Mrs. Bates. But when she goes and approaches Mrs. Bates and turns her around, we get the shriveled corpse of an old woman. And this must have been absolutely frightening for audiences back in the 60s. I mean, it's pretty good. It's a pretty good model that they used, but I'm just thinking of movies that have come out again, boxy robots that are weird. The movies up to this point horror-wise, we had Nosferatu, it's disturbing, and a couple of other, monsters, but as far as, full-on corpses, this one definitely was a shock to the system for a lot of audiences back then.
Oh yeah, it was
Um,
like really campy for uh, a lot of films back then, as they were trying to promote that type of horror, and it
yeah,
wasn't like serious horror. It wasn't
no,
like
it was
yeah.
drive-in horror. It
Oh
was
yeah.
the movie that the kids went and made out in the cars, so they weren't even really watching the movies, but every once in a while there was a giant bug or something, space aliens, silver, foil suits and such. Uh, yeah, this was intense and made more intense by what we now get because no sooner does she see this than our man Norman runs in with a ill-fitting wig in a dress wielding a butcher knife. But fortunately Sam has regained, consciousness and takes Norman down. Um, I didn't talk about, in the sort of storytelling piece earlier, but there's a couple of moments. We talked about the oh mother no the blood, but there's moments where Norman's having conversations with
Oh
his
yeah.
mother. We talked a little bit about the sandwich discussion, when Marion was invited up to the house. There's other parts in the movie where there's full dialogue between Norman Bates and his cantankerous mother, talking back to him. And as you're now realizing what's going on, now the ending is revealed that Mr. Hitchcock tried so hard to protect his audiences from. Thank you. Um, you start thinking, oh dear God, what is this? Uh, at the police station, we get kind of this great ending to the movie because they're talking about him. They have a psychiatrist who's interviewed Norman, and he's saying this kid is dangerously disturbed. He's got dual personalities. He's been living with that corpse up in the house, and yep, he killed Marion and the detective. Um, we learn the story of his mother that she was this very, possessive and difficult woman, very overbearing in his entire world. And he killed her and her lover. And he, at that point, something triggered in him that, to cover his sins, he started to become his mother. It was too much for him to take. And eventually, this craziness that occurred over the last few days was that full transition of him becoming his mother, the dominant personality has taken over. Um, and this picture behind me for people that can actually see, as this conversation's happening with the psychiatrist, you start to get this image of Norman, and eventually you hear Norman, but it's not Norman, it's his mother talking. And he's not his lips aren't moving. This is all occurring in his mind, kind of like when Marion was on her drive, the things that were plaguing her. And it's it's this battle with herself. We'll say herself, because Norman has fully become Mrs. Bates at this point. Um, and there's just this moment at the very end of the movie. If you haven't seen it in a long time, at the very least, if you've got 5 minutes, just watch the last 5 minutes of this film, Police Station On. The moment where he's sitting by himself with this voice and this, the facial work he's doing of no, they don't understand, and all the things that this woman is thinking, to the point where eventually you get this smile, which is the picture behind me, and then this super imposition that they've done camera work. It's called, I looked it up, it's called lap dissolve superimposition. And basically, what they've done is they've run this film of Anthony Perkins with this evil, devilish smile. It's the your face is smiling, but your eyes are not smile, the serial killer smile, with a superimposed bottom jaw of that corpse that we found in the basement of the house, the Bates house. And then it fades for a third film into the chain that is pulling the car out of the swamp that of course contains Marion Crane's body. And that's the end. And it is brilliant and it is amazing. And that is why I picked it as my favorite horror movie for our final episode.
Final episode.
What are your
It's classic. Yeah.
It is a classic. It is absolutely a classic. Should we rate this now and then go to Aliens, or should we rate them both at the end? What do you think?
Um, let's rate this one now because so it's fresh in our
Okay,
minds.
fantastic. Well, I covered, so I'll let you rate first.
Okay, all right. The music really brings the atmosphere, in the film, like especially the first kill. If you were ever born around this time and in the theater and hearing that soundtrack hit right in the shower, uh, and the scream coming from Janet Leigh. If I remember the story correctly, Alfred Hitchcock actually scared her almost to death to get that scene to feel realistic.
He
Um,
was very there is a whole lore that you can do a huge deep dive on Alfred Hitchcock's Blondes. There's actually a book that I've read on it, but he was very well known for absolutely tormenting these beautiful blonde stars that he had. So I have zero doubt that you're correct on that.
yeah, there was a what was it? I think it was a movie called Hitchcock with Anthony Hopkins, and
Oh,
they go
Scarlett
behind
Johansson.
yeah, they go behind the scenes where Anthony Hopkins' character, like literally, like tries to scare her in the shower to get her that reaction, um, you know, of her, screaming at the top of her lungs. And yeah, it's he could get a reaction out of that out of people, but unfortunately, he was tormenting a lot of his actresses to do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
He would be completely canceled today,
Good.
I could tell you that.
100%. Yeah, he would have been canceled for a lot of things.
A lot of things.
The 60s,
Oh, the
Hollywood.
60s. But no, the acting in here, for like a 1959, 1960, film, uh, it like still holds up today. Um, the dialogue still holds up today. The acting by Anthony Perkins, like this is still like the peak when it comes to like psychopaths. People look at this and go back, even in film school. And I've never been to film school. I have friends that have been there. They'll talk about this film, and they'll talk about like how you would act in a scene like this if you are pretending to be somebody who is a psychopath, somebody who hears voices. It starts off as somebody that looks normal and almost sounds normal until they are not. And just like what you see in the picture behind you, just that psychopathic look in his eyes um, makes you really believe that he possibly has killed somebody, even though he's an actor.
Yeah,
His character has certainly killed somebody. There was a series not too long ago that I really enjoyed. It was called Bates Motel.
it was
Um,
really good.
a really good show. Freddie Highmore, Vera Farmiga, and Vera Farmiga actually played Norma Bates, his mother. And I liked the kind of the dynamic of these characters because it gave you a different view of how he grew up with a mother like like Norma. Instead of us having to sort of like try to figure out is a mystery on how his relationship with his mother was like just between somewhat of a conversation between him and Marianne and everything, or even with arguments in the background, which were of course just him arguing with himself and the voices in his head. But no, it gives you sort of an idea of like this is what Norman had to deal with growing up, and this was somebody with like mental instability. Like, how would that affect somebody like that later on?
Right.
uh, yeah. So no, I thought this was a very like this is one of the like the top. I forgot. Like, it's definitely like the top 10 horror films of all time, and definitely brings a different type of atmosphere, especially around the 1960s, around that time, and people hadn't really seen anything like it, and it has become sort of like an outline of how you make a really good psychopathic horror film. And a lot of people have tried to imitate it over and over again. Well, not just like remake the film, but have
Mhm.
something similar to that. Uh,
Mhm.
you sometimes can get more scares without all the gore that we normally see today. We see a lot of blood flying everywhere, body parts flying everywhere, and sometimes the scariest parts are the mystery of who the killer really is, who's
Mhm.
behind the door, who's behind the
Only the
curtain.
shadow knows.
We all yes, we only see a silhouette of the killer until the final scene, or we figure it out because there's some obvious. You go back and you go into obvious signs that that might not have been his mother.
Mhm.
um, but yeah, uh, it is one of those films that you have to basically give a high rating to because it is well loved and revered as one of the top horror films of all time. So I gave what was it? I don't give a high. I said this at my last review. I don't give
Mm.
high scores all the time, but because this is sort of a legendary film, and watching it again recently, I have to give this a 10 out of 10. It is, you know, like I said, it is one of those films that people look at and go, "Yeah, this is what I'm going to do to make my horror film better. I have to
Yeah.
really watch this and see what Alfred Hitchcock has done." And I love almost all of Alfred Hitchcock's films.
Same.
Um, yes,
Mhm. They're good storytelling.
they're good storytelling, and he has a way of of making you afraid of just some simple things. And I
Mhm.
know this, like, Ed Gein was a big thing back then, and not a lot of people, they read newspapers and maybe saw,
Mhm.
a few things in the news, but this really, really showed like how deranged somebody could be and how normal somebody can act and then just switch on a dime.
Yeah.
So, yeah, definitely a 10 out of 10 a film, and a must see if you have not seen it.
Oh,
And
what are you doing with your life
yeah, what
if
are
you
you doing
haven't
with your
seen it?
life? And if you haven't seen this film and you haven't seen Bates Motel, definitely check out Bates Motel.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, this is OG, right? OG horror film. Obviously, I'm gonna give this a 10 out of 10, and this is kind of the reason why on some of our past recordings that I've said, "You know, I'm gonna give this a 8 point whatever," and then I say, "But I reserve the right to give it a higher rating later on because some of the most amazing films, you're stacking it up against films like this, and they will absolutely rise to, this level of classic in their own right. But this to me, there is no greater classic horror film. There is one movie that I was very much on the fence about choosing because to me it is the most perfect film that was ever created, and that's Jaws. I can find nothing wrong with that film. I love it so much. But to me, this is the originator of a really, really well-made horror movie. And there's a lot of other I know you can look at my social and not get mad and send me comments because I cover a lot of really old um, films on that. But this one was mainstream. And you're right. Back then, newspaper, we didn't have the internet in 1960 certainly. And a lot of people didn't even, tune into the nightly news. A lot of people were still listening to radio. Um, that was the world that you were living in back then. So, funny enough, I don't, this is me being assumptive, but I don't think a lot of people knew that Ed Gein was the inspiration for Psycho until, like, unless you're a weirdo like me, but if you're not deep diving trying to figure out what all these things are, or aficionado of true crime or whatever, a lot of people, I don't even think that the book that it was based on was a bestseller, to be honest. It might have been, sorry if it was, author. But this movie, definitely everybody knew that Norman Bates was a psycho. And that was one of the things that I think is a really interesting takeaway from this film. It was a career defining film for Janet Leigh, certainly. It was a career defining film for Anthony Perkins in a way that for many, many years he resented because he wanted to be a huge, well-respected actor, and he felt after this movie, everything was typecast. He
Oh yeah.
was Norman Bates. And a lot of people today, if you show a picture of Anthony Perkins, they're like, Norman Bates, and they might not even know the actor's name, so I get it. Um, Later in life, I heard that he did finally embrace it and realized, it's a career-defining role, and that happens, and but he was like a theater guy. So that's one of the reasons why I think he was so emotive and fantastic in his acting abilities in this. We talked about the music. Love the way that music complements a film. Probably one of the reasons I love Jaws so much. Um, this film being in 1960s, lots of taboo. I mean, Hitchcock was known for trying to skirt the way that at the time the motion picture industry was governed by very big censor laws, and he was good about hiding stuff in the script and taking the those people that were to review and censor on squirrel hunts on other things so he could sneak stuff into the film. But one of the most iconic slasher scenes of all time doesn't even have the knife penetrating skin. They use some whatever their syrup or whatever on the edge of the knife near Janet Leigh's stomach. But it's not super, super violent, like you said. This is a mind trip movie, mixed with sort of LA noir styling and a very well told story. And two stories. One, this movie, Psycho, is I think I may have told you this before, but there was a moment in my life that I was more scared than anything I've ever encountered, and it was because of my brother. He hid in my closet when I was, I think, like 5 years old. And I went to bed, I got tucked in, and he slowly opened one of those accordion shutter style closet doors. Not real fast and jump out, but slowly so you heard every single creak. And I was like, "Who's there?" And he kept doing it super slow to the point where I was in the corner where my bed was against the wall, trying to climb up the wall. I
Oh
was
no.
screaming, so scared. It was after I watched this movie. Now, again, I said I was 5, all the judgment for my parents. Um, the other thing you talked about, the way that Hitchcock makes films, we've talked about our mutual love and affinity for Twilight Zone. One of my very first loves was Alfred Hitchcock Presents, to the point where, and this is a little questionable with public schooling back in the 80s, but I got Alfred Hitchcock Presents books from Scholastic. Hey,
Nice.
so this movie is very near and dear to my heart. I actually pulled our favorite because I love to do it. How much money it made? Let's see here. lots of awards, Best Director nomination, Best Supporting Actress nomination, Best Cinematography Black and White nomination. No major takes in the Oscars on this one. Best Art Direction, major wins. It did get a Golden Globe. Janet Leigh took it home for Best Supporting Actress. Supporting Actress. I would say Best Actress, but um, where is my anyway, it made a ton of money. Okay. Cost of production. Now, you said $40,000 equals $450,000. So mathing it, cost of production, the budget was a little over $800,000. So 8 million. Is that am I doing that right? 10 times more?
Yeah, hold on a second. So the the cost of production was it
800
800,000,
and like
6,000?
807,000.
Yeah. Hold on a second. I think you're close.
So I think
806.
like 8 million. I'm about to get outed for the fact that I can't do math in my head.
Yeah, today it would be around 9 million,
Yeah,
a little over $9 million.
little more. And it made 50 million worldwide. So 500 million. So pretty successful.
Yeah, like
Second
five,
highest
oh,
grossing film of 1960
a little over
after
560
Bender.
million.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Hey,
that,
mathing.
yeah.
Um, just just a true a masterpiece. Horror masterpiece is what this movie is. Anthony Perkins did a fantastic job. Janet Leigh, amazing. Um, truly one of the greats. There is one more thing, and then I'll let you talk about aliens. There is a scene in Halloween H2O where Janet Leigh she makes a cameo, and amazingly, she's leaving. This is the Halloween where Jamie Lee Curtis is the school mistress. It kind of bucks the entire trend of some of the earlier movies. It makes a messy timeline if you go completely by sequel because she's got a son in this movie, played by Josh Hartnett with weird hair. But I digress. Janet Leigh stands out in front of the school and she's leaving and she's got that same car from Psycho that and I believe it is the actual original car too. Great nod for horror movie fans. Her and her daughter side by side in a movie for a brief moment, but Psycho, 10 out of 10. 11 out of 10 because that's how I do it.
11 out of 10, just above the original
just to
percentage.
just to make it messy. Wait. 10 out of 10 in 1960, so 100 out of 10 in 2026. All right, let's talk about aliens.
Let's talk about aliens. Yes, I think I figured out why my camera went awry earlier. I think it like got warm or hot. I have it plugged into
Oh,
a USB like adapter, and I think that adapter has way too many USB things plugged into it, so I think it just got too hot. So it was like, no, I
it
don't want to play
happens.
now. So I'm using my laptop camera. Luckily, I have it.
This,
So
this podcast is too hot. Is what it
yes,
is.
it's
What
too
I'm
hot.
taking away from that.
So for our next film that we're going to talk about, and I'm going to try to rush this through. I'm not going to go too far into like the full detail of this film.
You can
Uh,
say it because I talk too much. It's
no, not
fine.
that. That's okay. That's okay. Uh, because I know that you have stuff and you have dinner and everything else like that. So, um, we are going to be talking about a Ridley Scott film, and this is, in my opinion, this era of Ridley Scott is some of my favorite. I mean, Ridley Scott films kind of differ, especially these days. It's kind of like he likes his natural disaster films. I remember in the
He does.
90s, he was like, let's destroy, the World Trade Center. Let's destroy the Eiffel Tower. Let's throw meteors at, at Earth or with floods and other things. But in the late 70s, he gave us, in my opinion, a masterpiece, and kind of gave us a whole universe that would, he probably never thought it would become a universe of films. But we get the film Alien, with screenplay by Dan O'Bannon. And this film is really interesting because, like I said, was talking about earlier, we were so used to like boxy aliens and goofy
Mhm.
aliens and aliens that just look like, weird little puppets that are not scary at all. They're just like, oh, that's it. Okay.
Mhm.
Um, Not really supposed to be frightened of aliens unless they're like, they have to say Klaatu Barada Nikto or something like that to stop them from destroying the world.
Mhm.
In here, we get an alien that a single alien. Okay, so this is before all the other aliens. We got one alien, and the one thing, in my opinion, that really makes this movie scary is the darkness and the claustrophobia.
Yeah.
Anybody who hates closed spaces, but this really affected them. I have talked to
Yeah.
so many people that have seen this film that are claustrophobic, and it really made them hyperventilate and made them, out of breath. It was one of these, type of films where it really fed on that type of fear.
Mhm.
And more than that, it fed on the type of fear of like not being able to see what is coming after you.
Mhm.
You had all these dark corridors. You had, all these ventilation shafts. Uh, Remember when ventilation shafts you just go, like crawl through, and it's not,
You
instead of
could
like
go in them.
you could go in them, and these are like
Mhm.
heavy duty ventilation shafts. These aren't like die hard ventilation shafts. Were
Yeah.
very like flimsy, and I just hit my mic and camera.
Hey.
But yeah, everything was like doing this for a second. But uh, yeah, they're very strong. It's part of a spaceship. And this ship is called the Stramo.
Mhm.
Um, it is a 7-member crew. And the first scene you see is they're in stasis, and they have Captain Dallas, they have Executive Officer Kane, Warrant Officer Ripley, which later on will become the main character of the whole series.
Mhm. Yep. Deserved.
Navigator, yeah, Navigator Lambert, Science Officer Ash, and engineers Parker and Brett, along with the ship's cat, uh, Jones.
Jonesy.
Yes, all Jonesy.
Yeah, it's so funny. I every time I watch this movie, I say, "This movie really holds up." And it was pointed out to me very recently, "What are you talking about? Why do you say?" And I'm like, "Because it looks so realistic." They're like, "Do you think a spaceship would look like that today, mom? It would be so." Yeah, I said mom. That's who called me out. It would be so well done and decorated and everything. I I was wondering, and you would know because I am not an aficionado of the Star Wars, Star Trek area, but this film, I really feel like comparing it now I'm gonna get more hate mail. Comparing it to Star Wars, to me, the ship looks more realistic. Sorry. Um,
Oh, no, you're not wrong.
it it
It's take place
does.
in it's also taking place in a time period. Star Wars takes place way apparently, um, in a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. I guess
Oh,
then this
okay.
also means in the future as well. But
Mhm.
they're more advanced, even though it looks more like analog than digital compared to the
Mhm.
later movies, which they have to
Yeah.
explain.
Well,
But
I
no,
found myself looking at the interiors, which I was told like it would be no, and I started thinking about that. If you had a spaceship today that was traveling through like this one was, would it be all beautifully decorated on the inside? Or to me, my brain said no, because you need to be able to access those panels and you need to be able to get in there. You don't it's this is a space mission. This is my brain telling me I'm right. But just to add to your point about like the claustrophobia and it's it's a lot of cold metal that feels like maybe, I don't know, if you lean up against the wrong thing, it could be extremely hot. There's gas, like foggy stuff everywhere. It has that feeling of almost like boiler room, but really tight, which I think for me is what I've always felt that way. And I haven't spent a lot of time thinking about it, but it nothing looks hospitable in this ship except for stasis. Nothing looks like a place where you want to lean against any of the walls. So not only is it a tight corridor, but it's a tighter corridor because it feels imposing, the structure itself. So yeah, I thank you for saying that because I I've always felt uncomfortable watching this movie, and I've always felt like it holds up, but I didn't really dive into why.
Yeah, and the coldness of the ship in general. I mean, this is a commercial space tug, so it's not a luxury, tour they're going on.
Oh,
Uh, and so everything's kind of got to be hard. They're
mhm.
bringing stuff in, dragging stuff apart. So they're going to get things messy in the first place. It's going to get things scratched up, and uh, yeah, this crew is basically almost like a salvage crew in general.
Yeah.
So they end up on a planet, um, and this planet has it has some strange things on it. Let's just say there's a spaceship they find,
Mhm.
and this spaceship has a giant alien that's in the sea. We later find out they call them engineers. If you watch the Prometheus films, we find a little more about them, but it's basically just a corpse of this giant alien.
Yeah, it's the whole ship is huge. When they
It's
first
so
see it, it
big.
looks like, oh, it looks like a little piece of a ship hanging out, and then they, like you get perspective of them walking through it. It's like, "Oh my lord, the thing is massive."
Yeah, I mean, and they went on the ship because they got like a transmission, almost like a distress transmission from the derelict alien vessel, and they then find something else on this ship, which like for a long time, people have thought that it was because another alien race showed up on their ship and took it over, and we find out like no, they kind of engineered these things. We find out later that that they not only engineered these creatures, but they also engineered apparently humans. So there's a whole other like storyline to that.
I'm like, "Huh?" You're blowing my mind right now. What
Well,
episode is that in?
that's Prometheus.
Okay,
The movie Prometheus. So
okay.
if you haven't seen
Is that's the
Prometheus
one that
yet,
oh, no, what is the one that came out, like,
there's
end of last year?
Romulus. Yes.
Romulus, thank you. I almost said Ramadan.
Yeah.
Um,
It was Ramadan.
no, that's crazy. Fast, don't forget to fast. Yeah, I should go back and watch Prometheus. You said, I don't know if we were recording or not when you said it, but the sequels to this movie start to spin off more and more into like sci-fi action, which is officially where I check out usually. Like,
Yeah.
have a good day. So maybe I should go. That sounds compelling. I had no idea.
Yeah.
I was made by one of those.
One of the
Fantastic.
the engineers are apparently like these advanced alien races that just go around and try to, I guess, create life in general.
Okay.
And one of their creations went awry
I'll say.
and started to evolve into something way beyond what they could control. And that's usually what happens. They're humanoid type of creatures, but they're much larger. We see them like especially at the beginning of Prometheus. We see them like these giant, muscular, bald, like humanoid type of characters.
Wow.
Um, but in here, well, we only see a skeleton, and the storyline really wasn't written at the time for them. So I like how they kind of throughout the years build lore on these characters.
Mhm.
Um, all the I love the structure in here too because a lot of the stuff is like it looks like almost like in the inside of a body, and some areas are very
Mhm.
smooth, and some of like so they took a lot of like inspiration and or direct inspiration from H.R. Geiger.
Okay.
If you ever looked up H.R. Geiger's like designs, they're like, wait a minute, that looks like a xenomorph. Like, yes, exactly. That is exactly like what a xenomorph. That's what it almost like direct.
Oh.
You know,
Mhm.
I don't know if you're looking it up right now.
I am.
Yeah, it's very smooth. It's very like like I said earlier, like basically S&M type of like leather and tightness against the body and everything. And then you just have these weird forms that are
Did he design them? Because it looks literally like aliens.
yes.
Was he like he was the designer? Okay.
Well, I would say he was so. Hold on a second. Like I said, they
I
took
mean,
huge inspiration from that.
a huge. Oh, I like this one. This one's fun. Oh, um, yeah, it's these are incredible and they remind me of a tattoo artist that used to be down in Tucson. Um, I feel like too that use of like how you were saying like some areas are smooth. There's something about like rounded smooth metal on a ship, which is what you're seeing in a lot of the alien craft. Um where I don't know if this was the kind of first, it was at least an originator of movies. To me, seeing that feels so much further advanced. Especially, when this movie came out, when I first saw it, I didn't see it when it first came out. I was way too young. I was born. But back in the 80s, everything like cars are real rounded now. I don't know, maybe you had some classic cars that had a little bit more roundness to them, but nothing shaped like what you see on this alien ship, which just instantly gives you the feeling of whatever this is, it is by far and wide more advanced than, and so, you know,
Yeah,
pun intended,
and
so
large
alien.
too, and large
Yeah.
too. Like you re-enter like the area where they basically where the pilot sits, and it's huge. The chair is huge.
Yeah.
So yeah, H.R. Geiger was directly involved, and so all the
Okay.
designs. There's actually books by him where he shows
I was gonna
his
say,
like
like,
early on designs of the alien, and they are some of them are even more like interesting than even what they presented on screen because they didn't have a huge budget for this film. This budget was, let's see, the budget was 8.4 to $14 million.
wow.
So it wasn't very large, especially for 1979, for them to do anything with. Um, they were, trying to use the budget as best as they could to get, um, things to look decent. Like in my opinion, like I said, it still holds up to this very day.
It holds up 100%.
Oh yeah. So we discovered that there are other creatures on this ship, and these they're in these. There's large eggs, look like giant ostrich eggs, and they kind of react to movement. We discovered they react to movement, and Kane, who he ends up being the first victim. Poor guy. My voice is a little iffy
Yeah,
today.
I wrote a note in here about this. I said 3 of the crew go out to explore and then come across what looks like a down. When they enter it, it's massive. They find a giant enclosure filled with eggs. Executive Officer Gilbert Kane falls in with the eggs and naturally can't keep his hands to himself.
And it's like, let's poke it
It's
with a stick.
thank you.
Those curious scientists, like,
Mm,
we
dang
know
it.
it might be dangerous, but let's poke it with a stick and see what happens.
Right, right.
And,
And he
and
sees what happens. Like,
yes. And Kane is played
Very
by John
quickly.
Hurt. John Hurt is
Mhm.
uh he's an awesome actor. He passed away not too long ago. Very just a classic British actor. And he actually came back for the to do the role again for a funny bit in the movie Spaceballs.
Oh, cool. I never realized that.
Yeah, so
Oh,
if you watch
Spaceballs.
Spaceballs and you like, wait a second, that guy looks like the guy from Alien, and like because it's John Hurt. He's playing the same
Because it
role.
is.
We'll get to that part. So anyway, um, one of the eggs ends up opening after you just what is that? What like all
Yeah.
curious and looking at this egg
Mm-mm.
opening, and it looks like a flower. It looks like a beautiful flower.
No, it doesn't look beautiful. It look That's a
Well, it
nice
looks like an
try.
exotic. It looks like an exotic flower.
It looks like here's the thing, it looks kind of like a little bit like the Gremlins pod. It kind of looks I was thinking about this. I feel like I've seen like shapes of this so much in horror. Um, Present day, it looks a little bit Demigorgon-ish.
Yeah.
The way that it kind of folds out, a little shop of horrors, like, you here's the thing, if I saw that, I'm not touching it, is what I'm saying. It's it's creepy and, at your own risk for sure, Mr. Hurt.
Oh yeah, and then it jumps. Something comes out of the egg and jumps at him, wraps around his helmet, is able to actually burn through the helmet and get to him in his face. And now we're in emergency mode. We have,
Mhm.
they bring him back to the Nostromo. And at first, Ripley refuses to allow them on board because of quarantine regulations. Um,
Mhm.
and she's, in the right to do so
Yeah,
because, you know, if a situation happens like that, you have no idea what you're bringing back on the ship. You could be bringing on a virus, you could bring on a life form that they're not ready for. You're on an alien planet. Um, and there are rules and regulations for a reason to protect people.
right.
But Ash disobeys her and allows them to go on. And we find out that Ash isn't your typical officer.
No,
No, no,
and he's also an ass.
he's an ass, and he's always after that one ring. Okay, that one ring that will one ring to rule
Mm,
them all. If you
mhm.
don't get the joke, it's Ian Holm, so aka Bilbo Baggins.
Bilbo Baggins.
Bilbo Baggins, yes. So yeah, so Ash completely, like he should know better, and he should know better considering that who we find out who he really is later on, um, about regulations and following the rules.
Yeah.
But we find out later that there's a reason why he overrode those rules.
Mm,
Who's the real villain in this movie?
thank you. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, this is a perfect movie to rewatch in these times.
Oh yeah.
The
So
spoilers.
while the engineers they're on the ship, doing repairs, um, Ash attempts to, you know, take the creature off Kane's face. Um, but every time he tries to take it off, the thing wants to squeeze harder and harder.
This thing is so th I can't imagine when people saw this, there there's not a lot like this today even with the you talked about how it went through the helmet. Y When he gets attacked on the planet, it's like this tentacle, and it's a little bit of a jump scare. But then when they, like, first are looking at this thing is y every time I watch this movie, I sit closer to the screen because I'm trying to figure it out, and I love the way that they did this because it's not it could have been so much simpler and it would have lost a lot of the effect to me. It's they have to take the helmet off, and like you said, it had managed to go through, and then when they take it off, it's almost worse. it is like a crab on his face. And then wait, it's worse because you can't get the thing off. Like it's I can't every it is it again, this film holds up. But that whole scene is every time I watch it, I'm leaning closer like what the heck is that thing?
Oh yeah. I encountered a bark scorpion today, and I grabbed it by the tail and
That's
I took it back outside.
whoa.
Um, yeah, but when you look on the bottom of a scorpion, like
Mhm.
it does look like a face hugger.
There's
Uh,
actually a lot to unpack there that we won't get into. The fact that you picked it up by its tail is the biggest piece. But I can see that's actually a way better description. Like I've always thought crab-like to me for some reason, but it looks like exactly like a scorpion. You're right. The color of it too. For those of us in Arizona, it's like a total bark scorpion color.
yeah, and for the tail to wrap around the neck and everything, it
Hmm.
kind of looks almost like the stinger. Uh,
Yeah.
but yeah, so Ash was trying to get the creature off of Kane's face, unable to, discovers that the blood is acidic, so acidic to the point where it could actually burn through Kane if he's not careful, and also the hull of the ship. So this stuff is
Yeah.
extremely corrosive. This is not like your, hydrochloric acid where it's only going to, maybe take out minerals. Like this is going to burn through solid steel, which is insane.
Multiple floors.
Yes. So
That's
yeah,
like fantastic of them running downstairs, and they're like, "Nope, keep going down another floor." Like, that's insanity.
yeah, it's insane. That's extremely corrosive. Especially to be inside of a creature, their body would have to adapt and evolve to hold in that type of, corrosive blood. So the creature eventually detaches itself, unwraps around Kane's throat, and then dies. Um, and so everybody's kind of very curious on why that is. And so after the crew ends up, they return to space. Kane wakes up and he seems fine. Okay, it's weird. It's sort of like you've just been through a traumatic experience. You had something on your face for a while, and it's dead now, and you seem okay
Yeah,
for
he's just really
now.
hungry.
Yes, he's very hungry. Apparently, get very hungry after this. And what he doesn't know, and what people in 1979 didn't know, that there's something growing inside of him, and it's growing rapidly, growing really fast. The gestation period is really quick,
Yeah.
and beyond that, also the growing like period also is very quick. So there's something growing inside of him, and during a crew meal, after he returned from the stasis. Um, they're laughing, they're joking, they're talking about funny stuff, and then all of a sudden Kane starts to choke and cough, and then he starts to convulse. And the rest of the crew, they're around the table. They have no idea what's happening. They're starting to freak out. They're trying to help him out. He flips over on his back, and all of a sudden you see this horrifying scene where his shirt starts something's starting to poke through his stomach, and all of a sudden his chest just bursts. And what they call these, they call them chest bursters for a reason.
Dust bursters.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it is
It's
a
like a
very graphic scene because they actually, one of the actresses in here, I forgot her name. One of the female crew members in here, where is she?
la 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 la
I
la
think
la
I think it was
Lambert.
Lambert. Yeah, Veronica
Yeah.
Cartwright. If I remember correctly, they didn't tell her that that was going to happen. So the
What is the theme of
reaction, yeah, the
messing
reaction
with women?
yes, the reaction you see on screen was the original reaction that they kept in the film because they
Wow.
wanted a visceral reaction to something happening, and they didn't tell her this is going to like spray everywhere. This is going to pop out, and something's going to come out throughout his chest. And so you hear the scream that ah,
Yeah,
it
I could
doesn't
see.
sound normal. Like it doesn't sound like one of
Mhm.
those what was it they call those screams? Those what do they call those screams when the people fall from a distance and they use the same scream again.
Oh,
Um,
mhm.
it was on the tip of my tongue, but you know what I mean. It was a different type of scream, and it was a real scream. It was
It
like
was
a
a real one.
complete surprise to the actress, and it works because it's memorable. And
Yeah.
uh, like I said, years later, John Hurt came back for Spaceballs and reacted that, did the same exact scene, except like the alien, the creature pops out and puts on a little top hat and says, "Hello, my baby. Hello, my darling.
Yeah.
Hello, my ragtime girl."
I
Uh,
mean, I love this little alien. Like, I love
yes.
that this little alien has a grill. Like, that's the only way I can describe it. It's like a little alien fetus with a grill. These it was one of the, I don't know, to me, like smart, just little smart moves. The chest pop, there's a physical um, pop, like a pop, something it's another one of those moments where, especially imagining watching it for the first time, but you lean forward and you're like, "What just happened?" Because you get this, like, pop with some blood, and you're like, "Wait, what?" And then this little freakish little dude pops out with his crazy grill, this,
Yeah.
like, metal teeth, and runs away, and I have to read my note on this because I say, "It runs away because Ash won't let anybody kill it. Damn it, Ash."
So
Ash.
it's Ash. Like I said, who's the real villain of this film?
Mhm. Mhm.
Um. So yeah, unfortunately, Kane passes away after this creature exited his body and runs away,
Uh,
really fast too, like a rat that's just, that's seen light, just like just scuttles away,
mhm.
and everybody just
Yeah,
freaked out now.
they exit Kane like they are flushing a goldfish. Like, it is that's to if I had to, like, one complaint about this film, that would I'm like, "Wow," they're like, "Does anybody wanna say anything?" And then they just, like, drop him out of the ship, and he just, like, hurtles through space. Like, "Aw, bye, Kane. Barely got to know you, man. Don't touch alien eggs." But yeah,
Yes.
now, like,
Bye bye.
everybody's I would be freaked. I'd be with that little thing bursting out of somebody's chest, now it's loose in the plane, ship,
Yeah.
vessel.
So now everybody is like, we need to find this thing and we need to stop it and kill it. And they get together and they're like, it's small, so it'll be really easy to track down if we find it and kill it. Basically, just like we'll just step on it, maybe. But they don't have like you know machine guns all over the place and pistols everywhere. So you know, they have what they have,
Yeah,
including a little
like a
flamethrower.
detector, metal
Yeah,
detector,
yeah,
flamethrower.
yeah. So they're going from compartment to compartment, and they end up discovering that well, it's not a little alien anymore. This thing
No,
grows
that thing grows quick.
fast. It grows fast. In
Mhm.
less than a day, it's near full size, which is scary to think
Yeah.
of the speed that these creatures can grow at because it's like growing an army. Like, just think about this.
Mhm.
If you can grow a soldier in less than a day from a baby to a full grown adult, like, you're going to have a massive army to use as a weapon. You know,
Yeah, things that you don't care about because you didn't even get a chance to get to know it.
Yeah, and these things are killers too. They're
Yeah.
animals that
No
only
emotion.
yeah well, no emotion in the sense of that they are mainly controlled by a queen who does most of the thinking for them.
Mhm. Which
So
is so ironic because this movie has so many instances where no one listens to the woman,
yeah,
but They're controlled by Queen and the ship is Mother. Like, there's definitely something there. You're much better at unpacking, deeper meanings in these movies than I am. But watching it again last night, I'm like, why does nobody listen to Ripley? And now thinking about it, it's like there is a lot of there's something there. Give me a minute. By the end of the review, maybe I'll come to something.
Oh no, and you're right. Like there are a lot of people today that they'll do an action filled film that with a female lead, and a lot of times the actors are like, "This is the first time that a female has led an action film." I'm like, has anybody forgotten Ripley and Aliens or Alien or
Right.
any of the aliens like before they got really crazy and had predators in them and stuff? You forgot that she was one of the earlier adopters of being like a female badass in a sci-fi
Yeah.
or a horror film. Um, Next to like somebody like what was it, like Halloween or something like that, where you get
Hmm.
a female protagonist. Um, but yeah, Ripley is like she's a very unassuming character in here at the beginning. You don't expect her to be like the main character until she becomes the main character.
Hmm. Out of
So
necessity.
out of necessity, out of survival. Uh,
Hmm.
this creature, like I said, it grows really, really fast, and within a day, they're thinking that they're going to, find a small little creature, and one of the crew members, Brett, ends up getting killed by it,
Brett.
and
Eh,
yeah,
that's not just Brett, that's Harry Dean Stanton. That's Molly Ringwald's dad.
yeah,
That's Pretty in Pink famed Harry Dean Stanton. I loved like I had forgotten that he was in this movie, to be honest, and I'm like, "Ah, yes." Yeah, everybody needs to stop looking for the cat is the moral of this story.
don't look for the cat. The cat can take care of itself.
Yes.
Uh, yeah, so the thing is growing really fast, all right? And the creature determines that the alien is moving and he's around the ship to the air ducts. And so Dallas devises a plan to, force the creature off the ship through the airlock,
Mhm.
as you do. I mean, it's very, like I said, it's very, very claustrophobic. They're
Yeah.
going through each of the air ducts, and it's basically crawl space only. So if this thing does come at you, you don't have
Yeah.
anywhere to run because you cannot run,
Yeah,
which
and
makes
it's
it
dark and
yes, it's
ugh,
dark and you can't see anything. And if the creature does, and when the creature does come at you, you see a silhouette of it coming at you,
yeah,
and it's frightening. Like if this is the first time anybody has ever seen this film, like watch it in the dark with them because it gives
yeah,
an even better effect. Because they will
mhm.
probably jump too if they're that type of person.
Yeah, there's a great jump scare in here where it's like that's the first time I don't know, maybe not, but it feels like the first time that you're seeing um, that full grown kind of alien, and it's like, it kinda comes at you. There's not a lot of space in this little area that they're in, but like it's almost like jazz hands right at you. Like definitely a great jump scare moment in this film. And you get to see this creature really more than you have at this moment. I don't know, like you start trying to figure out what in the hell you're looking at. Like it's definitely super tall, lanky, like I almost creature from the Black Lagoon meets space alien. I don't know. It's another moment where you're leaning forward and you're like, what is happening here? What is this? This movie is just such an originator for space horror.
Oh yeah, definitely. And you have you know, so Dallas basically he asks the ship's computer mother about the alternative to killing this creature, and what are their chances of actually succeeding. Um, but mother doesn't want to give them an answer. Why? Why doesn't Mother want to answer these questions?
Theme of this record. Evil mothers.
Well, not just evil mothers, but like this is also like early AI. This is what we
Mm,
um, or even before Terminator, like having the well close to it, where we have an
yeah,
AI where it's like, oh, we can't trust AI because
right.
AI might
Yeah,
turn on us.
Mother is like Space Odyssey, what Hell. It's like Hal's
Yes,
female counterpart.
yes. Uh, then Dallas enters the ducks with a flamethrower, but is ambushed by the alien and killed, unfortunately. Um, Flamethrower is a good idea though, because when you're in a very compact space, the flame will be directed just, you know, instead of spreading out too far. But
Yeah,
unfortunately, aliens too fast and and gets them. So we got historical Lambert and believes that they'll all die, and suggests that they should abandon the Nostromo and leaving in the escape shuttle. So now we have Ripley, who is, I guess, the officer in command now.
yeah,
Um, she rejects the plan. The shuttle could not support the remaining crew, and Ripley decides that they'll try Dallas's plan again. So basically, she goes and acts as his mother herself and discovers that there is a secret directive from the company that they work for, which literally is the company. There's like they are called the company, and it says Ash must return with the alien for study, regardless of the risk of crew.
yeah.
Um,
Ash.
Ash, yes. So this whole thing was planned. This wasn't so they went to this planet. It wasn't a an accident of finding this alien. Now for the rest of the crew maybe, but for the company and Ash, they knew something was here already.
Hmm.
And we find out that this sort of a nefarious plan from the company. They needed people to sacrifice. They didn't care about the crew at
Yeah.
all. And
Bring
Ash,
back an alien life form, no matter the cost.
no matter the cost. And so yeah, Ash is not a good person, which we find out that Ash is not a person at all.
Yeah, yeah. I'm laughing at my note that they get into a fight and he's literally beating her down. It's very aggressive. It's a
Oh
very
yeah,
aggressive scene.
how
I
dare you,
mean, it
Bilbo? You treat women like that.
I know, right? You're like, "Oh, this is that's so misogynistic," and he's a robot. But my note says, when he tells them about their chances for survival, dot dot dot. Well, even as a dying robot, still a dick.
It's
He's such a jerk.
he's still monologuing.
He's riffing, man. He's one-linering. He's just a jerk.
Yes, that he was programmed that way.
Yeah, it's not his fault.
Yes. No, so Ash, like you said, he attempts to try to kill her, and then Parker comes in and incapacitates Ash. Um, and like I said, Ash states that an alien can be killed and expresses admiration for it, or cannot be killed. The Parker incinerates Ash immediately, so you just see this, um, you know, at Ash becoming Ash.
Mhm, yeah. Bye, Ash.
Bye, Ash.
Later.
Later.
What a jerk.
So yeah, so um, basically, it seems like there's no hope of defeating the alien, and Ripley decides, well, okay, well, we need to, stop this thing. We can't let it get back to Earth. We can't let it, because it doesn't seem like anybody could stop this thing. And so she initiates the self-destruct sequence on the Nostromo, which is, basically nuclear.
Mhm.
And They go ahead with Lambert's plan to abandon the ship. While they're gathering supplies, unfortunately, Alien kills both Parker and Lambert in this really
Mhm.
cool scene. Like it's just like the drop
Yeah.
down scene. We
Oh.
get this is really when we start to see the form of the alien.
Mhm.
The smooth, like rubbery, leathery type of skin, the head, the smooth head. It doesn't even look like it has eyes.
Right.
Um,
But it's got, like, 3 sets of teeth.
it has like three sets of teeth, and in later incarnations we get the alien with like the mouth coming out of the other mouth.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. It's all grill too. It's all metal mouth.
it's all metal
This
mouth.
this alien would have rocked the '90s, South Central scene. It is all silver.
Oh yeah, I mean he would been able to go down to any club and get anybody,
Mhm.
just like
Yep.
this guy's cool. Look at his grill, and then
It's
they
got
just
3 grills.
right through their head, and you're just like, oh
Yeah.
well, just don't go down South Central. You'll just get shot.
Mm,
Uh,
yep.
so unfortunately now Ripley is all by herself. She can sing that song all by
Mhm.
myself because
There's
she,
Jonesy.
yeah,
There's
well,
Jonesy, but she loses it again.
yes, well, Jonesy's just running around while he has his own mission. He's on a side mission. Um, but yeah, so now Ripley has to start the sequence, the self destruct sequence herself, and the alien is blocking the route to the escape shuttle. Um, Ripley now has to escape, and um, but to do this, she has to go back and abort the sequence that she just started.
Mhm. Which is you talked about at the beginning, like, the claustrophobia and everything of this space that they're in anyway, and then you add something chasing and killing, and then you add a countdown, and that, like, it just heightens the adrenaline. Like this movie, I feel like this movie because it starts as you said in stasis. Once it just takes off, it just keeps freaking going. Like it feels more and more intense. And this is probably one of the most anxious parts because of that. Like count now the whole thing's gonna blow up and you're in it and this monster's chasing it. It's a lot to take in for people that are feeling that claustrophobia from it.
Oh yeah, definitely. So she fails to return before the override option expires, and now just minutes left to evacuate. Ripley ends frantically returns to the shuttle and finds out that the alien is gone. But luckily, she finds Jonesy.
Yep.
Board,
Now it's just
boards,
her and Jonesy.
boards the shuttle and launches it seconds before the Nostromo blows up. Which we
Yep.
find out later that the company was not very happy with her about that. It's
Oh,
like we
wow.
destroyed a bunch of company equipment, and I'm like that, but my whole crew died.
You destroyed a bunch of people.
Yes. Um. So, Ripley, of course, has to prepare for stasis because that's how you travel in space. You sit in stasis forever because there's not exactly light travel in this era of space travel. So that's got to be fun, like you have to look at your calendar and going like, okay, so I'm going to go 11, 12 light years away. All right, I'll be in stasis for 12 years.
Yeah,
Everybody
it
else
sounds
will age
actually nice.
12 years on Earth, and I will be in stasis the whole time.
I mean, it's a holiday weekend for me, and I have 3 days off, and it's not enough. Everything the picture you're painting sounds luscious.
Luscious, yeah,
I'll take
luscious,
stasis.
luscious for you, but like for everybody else, they're aging, and so it's like
Yeah.
you have to be in this type of job where it's like basically saying goodbye to your friends and family. And feel like, I
Yep.
don't know if you're going to be alive when I get back, but, I'm getting paid a good amount of money for what I'm doing.
Mm.
And so, yeah, so she's preparing for stasis, and then she discovers that the alien has snuck aboard the escape shuttle. Now, this is one smart alien because it realized that it needed to get away and found a way to escape in the exact shuttle where she needs to escape into. And I
Mhm.
love the scene
Yep.
because it's like it blends into the wall. You have to squint to almost see it because
Mhm.
there's steam going off and then there's just the lighting doesn't really show it until the alien starts to move, and then you realize, oh, it's there.
Yeah.
It's like almost camouflaged, and it's frightening because you're like, oh, okay, I thought that was a wall, but no, that's the alien.
Yeah.
It's starting
And
to move
she's
now.
so compromised too because naturally, she's Sigourney Weaver, a beautiful looking woman. You've got to have her in her underwear at some point in this movie.
That's how
But
you do
she's
stasis.
getting
You get
ready
in
for
your underwear.
stasis. Yeah.
Yeah,
Which and I'm not even gonna clown on the fact that they put her in underwear because at one point earlier in this movie, I don't remember which person it was, but somebody was in some sort of weird corset underwear situation, and it was a guy, so I'm like, "Fair enough. At
fair
least she
enough.
looks cool."
Yes.
But she's so compromised because it's a smaller space. Let's make it more claustrophobic. Now she doesn't even have, typical clothes on, and the thing is in the ship. Eh,
Oh yeah, it's in the ship, and she's almost naked herself. Like she doesn't have anything, and now she kind of sneaks to get to a spacesuit and a helmet, and grabs a nearby grappling hook gun, like
mhm.
there is on any spacecraft,
Naturally.
apparently,
Of course.
naturally.
Yeah.
Um,
Harpoons and such.
Harpoons, yeah, straps herself
Space
to a
trails.
chair, and she begins, discharging gas to drive the alien from its hiding place.
Yeah.
Um, and it tries to attack her, but she opens the shuttle door. This is like starts to depressurize the area, and it leaves the alien clinging to the door frame. We're like, almost out, but like this alien is strong
Mhm.
and somehow
Yeah.
able to still breathe.
Mhm.
So Ripley shoots it with the uh, the gun and knocking it out, but the door closes on the grapple line, leaving the alien. It's now tethered to the ship. Like,
Yeah.
just let go.
Right.
And so it's swinging, behind the engine, and Ripley fires the engines to sever the line and blast the alien into space. Um, and the movie ends basically with her recording her log entry about the Nostromo and um, the people who died or of her crew. And then she finally, takes Jones with her and uh, goes into stasis for her, return back to Earth, which unfortunately she will never make back.
Dun dun dun.
Da, 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 until, well, actually, she never actually makes it back because her clone made it back to Earth, not her.
Is that a
A-
clone?
Alien Resurrection.
Oh.
You never watched it. Oh my goodness, you've never seen Alien Resurrection, have you? Winona
No.
Ryder, Ron
I went
Perlman.
I
Um,
went 1, 2, skip a few. Ramadan.
my goodness, Ron Perlman is in Resurrection, and you would love Ron
Oh,
Perlman in that
Ron
film.
Perlman. I love
He
Ron Perlman. I am a
he would
Sons of Anarchy kind of girl.
his humor in Alien Resurrection is probably one of the saving graces of that film.
There's a
So
lot of there's a lot of that. Thank you for I will purposely check that one out because it's like my affinity for Halloween. Is it 6? The one with
three, no, I
with
think
Paul
it's
Rudd in
three.
it?
Well, I think you don't like three either.
I don't like 3 because it's not Michael Myers,
No,
but I respect it. But it's Halloween, I think 6 with Paul Rudd, which man, s Paul, you're not trying to be funny, but you are very funny, sir. So much face in that movie. Okay, I'll have to check that. I love a good, like is it camp on purpose or is it accidental camp?
I think it's somewhat accidental camp that um they're trying to be somewhat serious about it with that film. Hold on a second. Uh,
They fail.
that film the film was actually written by Joss Whedon. So you can actually
Okay.
kind of see his humor in that film. And I think with Ron Perlman, I wouldn't be surprised if Ron Perlman ad libbed some of this stuff because there are some scenes in there where, like, I don't know if that would have been written directly in the script because it just seems very Ron Perlman like.
Yeah.
Uh, and he plays this character who's not exactly a good guy, but he's not exactly a bad guy either. And he just
Okay.
makes these
Oh boy.
comments where they're just funny, and you're like,
Yeah.
okay, well, even if it was written in a script, that's hilarious, especially when it's presented by Ron Perlman.
Isn't it
So
always kind of the person he plays now that I think about it?
yeah, even in
Like
Hellboy or like any films he's like really been in.
Sleepwalkers, wasn't he was a cop, yet he was the asshole cop. Like he's kind
Well,
of that
even
like
his comments are kind of funny too. Like that's
mm,
um,
all right.
but yeah, you definitely need to check out Alien Resurrection. But really quickly, back to Alien.
Yeah, Squirrel Hunt.
The first film. We
Mm,
segue too far off, but no, this is a definitely a film that you have to see. 20th Century Fox did a very good job um, of producing this film. The cinematography was incredible. The soundtrack, Jerry Goldsmith did the music for this film, and it's so memorable. And it's one of these films where people look back and definitely go like, "That is how you do a scary alien film." Um, you don't present the creature at the beginning, and we get to see it. You really lead up to it, and it
yeah.
wasn't a long film too. It was like 116 minutes. The film itself was only about in between about $9 to $14 million budget, but it ended
Okay.
with uh, let's see, I don't know why it's such a large span, but let's just say 100 over $180 million that it made at the
Wow.
box office in 1979. I would have to look at what. Let's see. Let's see.
No, we're doing that math.
188 million in 1979. That would be, come on. That would be 800 and nearly under $870 million a day.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
really good, especially for a film, for a sci-fi horror film. Um, and I think it surprised a lot of people with how popular it became and became sort of the zeitgeist. And when consider like when you think of an alien film, you literally think of
Yeah.
Alien. It's just
Right. I
the
think yeah, I this is, this is the OG alien film. I mean, before that like what we talked about, it was all just weird, wacky, campy, not great. And now you look at some of the films that have that have come after, like the remake of War of the Worlds, which is a fantastic film. Um, it just there's a lot of homage to this film. A lot of newer filmmakers took a lot of inspiration from Alien for sure.
oh yeah, it's the quintessential like sci-fi horror film, and especially when it deals with aliens, that you need to show people that have never experienced that type of genre before. Uh, and so before we go into like our final thoughts and everything, what is your rating of this film? Because I rated Psycho first, and so it's your turn.
I am gonna have to give this a 10 out of 10. Duh. This movie is there is just so much intrigue, and I've said it like 7 times, but it holds up. I I never get tired of watching this film. Every time I watch it, I still am compelled by what is happening, and to me, that makes it a lot of sci-fi films to me, they don't age well, and that's what's so striking about this is nothing feels played out when I watch this movie. That scene where the alien has gone into the helmet is such a weird thing to look at, and you don't get a look at it for a really long time, which I think they also do in this movie very well. You get just a couple of seconds of that scene, and you're like, what is that? What is inside? I thought it was just a tentacle hit him in the face. What is inside, and how is it in? Is it inside his face? Is he dead? Um, that just continually happens through this movie over and over again for me. Even though I've seen it probably a dozen times, I just think that they made such a special film because they give you just enough to where and just enough of something that's so different and alien, pun, from anything you've ever seen that you can't help but lean in and try and as soon as you start your brain starts to comprehend what it is that you're looking at, it's moved on. And we talked a little bit about that with obsession, obsessed with obsession. Um with the jump scares in that movie, how you don't know what you're looking at, and so you're trying to discover it, and that goes in a totally different direction because it lets you look at it and then it shows you something absolutely worse. This movie, it's like a taste of something so visually different, and then it takes it away. And I think that that's one of the reasons why I've always appreciated it so much, and it doesn't feel stale. It doesn't the the graphics don't look terrible. A lot of the space movies from this time when I watch them, I'm like, I won't name names because of the hate mail, but they just seem hokey to me. I never get that feeling when I watch this. The actors, their portrayal of their roles feels really genuine. You've got the engineers who feel like they're getting screwed because the company they realize they're not making as much money and they're putting themselves at risk, but they're not even, if they're going to be at risk, they want more of a cut. That's like a whole additional dialogue that one could argue wasn't necessary, but it's that thing I love again in movies when the screenwriter finds a unique way to humanize the characters even more without having to go into a long and super dragged out backstory. I mean, they could have talked about, oh, my kids back at home and let me pull out the picture and show you my children that I miss. They don't. It's these two guys bantering and it gives so much more detail. Ripley's arguments with Ash and other crew members about trying to do protocol and the right thing and constantly getting denied. And she's right. She winds up being right about the whole thing. But you see this frustration. And in the beginning of the movie, she lets herself get overruled. So there's a real character building with her where she goes from being this person that's like, well, wait, I'm actually the officer in charge. This is my call to make. And she totally gets bypassed and she stands down to later on, she's like, "You know what? No, I'm making the call."
Yeah.
Um, there's just a lot of really great character development and genuine portrayal of these characters. Um, I just it truly is a fantastic movie. Um, you said watch it in the dark. I totally agree with you. This is a movie where all the lights have to be out because that makes it even better every single time. Um, yeah, and I feel like this movie is what catapulted the great Sigourney Weaver into our stratosphere. Um, thank goodness, because Ghostbusters and a lot of really evil women that are secretly in charge movies. She's such a great actor, um, and such a unique the way that she carries herself in film, I think especially in this one. She's very believable. So being the very much a side character to becoming the main character in this film, it it really kind of brought her into being the main character for a generation. So you have to also appreciate it for that. Um, Yeah, 10 out of 10. Truly a great movie. I absolutely love it. It is the OG Alien movie, and yeah, you gotta watch it. At least this is a movie that I probably watch every year, but at least you gotta put it in rotation every other year.
Yeah, and I believe if you have Disney Plus slash Hulu, you can watch basically almost all the Alien films,
Okay, fair
including I
enough.
believe the Predator films. So, um, yeah, this film, in my opinion, this is a 10 out of 10. This film really pioneered so much when it came to science fiction horror, and uh, a simple creature like the xenomorph, which we'll later name the xenomorph, uh, it sculpted, by Geiger himself. And, using, let's see, I'm reading here, it's reading using the vertebrae from snakes and cooling tubes from a
Wow.
Rolls Royce. Um,
Whoa.
and the head was manufactured separately by Carlo Rimbaldi, who worked on the aliens in Close Encounters of the Third Kind. Those are interesting looking aliens too. I
You
liked
know,
how
I
they
haven't seen that movie in so long.
uh
Now I wanna
the,
go watch it.
yeah, the way they designed those aliens too were like, and there's like different types of aliens. There was like children like aliens, and then there was the one that came down the ramp to communicate with the humans, and then there was one at the edge of the ramp that seemed to have like long dangly arms. But yeah, it's this was a different type of alien. This alien
Yeah,
was something to be feared. Um, it looked like it was engineered to kill, and later on we find out that yes, it literally was engineered to kill by the engineers, and it kind of went
yeah,
awry with their creation. Sort of like humans went awry with their creation.
right.
um, but yeah, it was just the film itself is like it's beautifully like shot. Uh, from the very beginning, where we see them coming out of the stasis pods, at the very end, as Ripley is getting it back in her stasis pod to travel back home. Um, like I said, when she never unfortunately makes it.
Aw,
Um, yeah, she never gets to see her daughter again. Um, she doesn't even get to see Jonesy again after the second one.
poor Jonesy.
But Jonesy, and then she ends up, dying and coming back as a clone. So,
Okay.
uh,
I missed a lot. I missed
yeah,
a lot
you
between
missed a
then and
lot. You
Rom
missed a lot. And if you were to see the third one, I would recommend seeing like the director's cut of the third one. In my opinion, that is a much better version of the third film,
Okay.
Alien Three, because people have gotten into the films. I know some people that have never seen the Alien films, and they were like, "We watched the theatrical version of Alien 3." I'm like, "No, you actually need to watch
Mm,
the director's cut because it cut out some scenes that were really important and make the film better, in my opinion."
mhm.
Um, but yeah, Alien Resurrection didn't get, it got critically panned. But like I said, one of the saving graces of that film is Ron Perlman and
Yeah.
his humor. Is kind of like dark kind of humor, kind of like immature type of humor, but it works for Ron Perlman. So, uh,
Ron.
this film itself, like the cast was really good. You got Tom Skerritt. You have, of course, Ian Holm. You have Sigourney Weaver. I actually got to talk to Tom Skerritt not too long ago. He was he was older than he was at. It was at a Comic Con. It was at one of the Phoenix Comic Cons, and there was nobody in his line, and it was
Oh,
so
wow.
depressing. It was so
Aw.
depressing. He was all by himself, and I had to go up and just talk to him because it was awesome in Top Gun. It was awesome. He had so many different films he was in, and especially talked to him about
Mhm.
Alien. But yeah, it was kind of like nobody of this generation knows who Tom Skerritt is. Like that's just sad. Just like no one
Right.
he was even in his line, and it was he's that way for hours.
Wow.
Um, yeah. So it had a credible cast. Like I said, there were scenes in here, especially the chest burster scene, which was completely like the reaction was real. I love
Mhm.
you can tell when the reaction is real because the person doesn't react like a normal person like that would be acting would act like. You could
No, it's
you could go through it over and over again saying, "Now act scared," and then be
right.
like, or something like that. But when you see somebody actually scared, um, it's a different visceral reaction, and it depends on the person too. They could be screaming at the top of their lungs to almost like
Mm,
and like flying backwards
yeah.
into the wall. It was almost almost that. um, poor Veronica Cartwright freaked her out.
Yeah.
But yeah, it still holds up to this very day, and I will stand by being one of the top top 10 best horror films of all time. And I picked this film because when you asked, like, let's let's get our best horror films to be, for the last podcast, um, for now, I was like, let's go with Alien. Alien, I if I wanted to say the best Alien film in the series, I would say Aliens, but I
Mhm.
don't consider that a full-on horror film.
Yeah.
Consider that more of an action thriller. So, uh, definitely check out Alien. Alien is one of those films that if you haven't seen, you've probably heard of it, or you've seen so many parodies of the film that people have done throughout the years. You've seen Spaceballs, of course, do a parody with the
Right.
actual actor in it. But yeah, definitely check it out. A high recommendation for almost any sci-fi horror film.
So, I couldn't help myself, but I pulled Rotten Tomatoes 200 best horror movies of all time. And funny enough, the number 1 is once again a movie I've never heard of. Which I'm like, well, here's a bunch of stuff that I can this is what I'm gonna be doing instead of writing my book while you're in the Philippines. But in any case, I had to pull up. So Psycho, do you want to guess what number?
Is it in the top 10?
No.
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 Wow. What
It's
number?
14.
It's
14.
14. Okay.
And I put some besteds. So it was bested by Jaws at 13. And this one made me smile. Sinners at number 12.
Wow.
Yeah, and then Alien, would you like to guess where it ranked?
Where did it rank?
Throw out a guess. Come on, jump in there.
Uh,
You're a betting man.
let's see. In the 20s?
53.
53.
53. And guess what? It was bested by Aliens at 43,
Okay.
which I thought it was interesting because you threw that out. And then I had to do a call out because it was one of the ones that danced around in my mind is this my favorite horror movie? But Carrie at 45, which I, and funny enough, two of my other potential choices were also sort of, I mean, Carrie brings in a whole different element, I guess, as does The Shining, but both kind of psychological horror to an extent. Um, so, yeah, a compelling list to keep us all busy in the, I don't know, year maybe that we're on hiatus. So,
Yes.
there's a whole bunch of movies to review and look at yourself and form opinions about before we come back with maybe me as a struggling unpublished author
You can do
and
it. I believe in you.
thank
I
you. And JPOOL as like a savior of like a action hero helping the masses and saving lives. It sounds much more impressive what you're going to be doing.
I'll probably
That
write a
just
book
makes me have
myself.
to live up to it. Oh, great.
But yeah, no,
Well,
it's been a thrill for you to co-host with me on this Horror Corner podcast, and definitely I will miss having weekly like reviews with you. But
yeah.
this won't be this is not a goodbye. This is not paalam, which means goodbye
Yeah.
or farewell. This is a break, a hiatus, and we will be back. We will
Okay.
be back and talking about maybe even future horror films that hopefully not Siren Head. Please. Well, please not let it be Siren
No.
Head.
When
Um
we come back, we're gonna talk about all the awards that Obsession won. That's what we're gonna
yes,
talk
we're
about.
gonna talk about what we like. Yes. But yeah, definitely it's been fun. It's been fun. And
Yes, absolutely.
I wish you a lot of success with your book
Thank you.
and definitely for future podcasts. I would like to thank everybody out there that has listened or even watched uh, our reviews and our discussions. Um, it's been a blast, and it'll be an adventure for me to go out to another country and be 15 hours ahead of everybody here.
Yes,
But I
you're in
will
the
try to make it
future.
work. I will try to make it work. I will be probably in the middle of the night doing it, but I will try to make it work.
He's going to be in the future, and
I'll
he's
be in the
going to tell me
future.
what's happened,
I will
and
tell
I'll
you.
be blissfully ignorant.
I'll be like, I have the lottery numbers right here. You got to
Fantastic.
you got to get. That's how it works, right? That's how science. You know,
I right? Sure,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. That's how
Science
it
and time
works.
travel.
Time travel. Yeah. So, thank you everybody for listening. Thank you everybody for watching. And one last time, remember to enjoy your chimichanga.